Good afternoon, everyone who is watching or listening. My name is Blessing Enakimio, and I would like to welcome you to our conversation this afternoon on launching a business. My name is Blessing, like I said earlier, and I'll introduce you to others. I've got Caroline on here, and I've also got Maureen. Maureen, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Maureen Chiana, and I'm a neuro leadership and resilience trainer, business consultant, and also a neuro coach. And I am the CEO and owner of the Mindsight Academy, which is an online academy for leaders and organizations as a whole. So I leverage on brain science to help people work smarter, and in a sense, I say rewire their brains so that they can be more effective in everything they do, lead at a higher level, and achieve greater performance. So that's
Thank you, Maureen, for that. Caroline?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Caroline Lyons. I actually run a fintech company, but my background is in branding, and I have been a brand strategist for many years. I still work in branding as well. I have my own business called Words and Stories, and basically I listen to people, particularly startups. I listen to their words to help them tell their story. Basically ask them a series of questions that come to understand who they are, what they do, and why anybody should care. And basically discover their purpose and their authenticity and the authentic reason for why they exist. And that's what my background is in.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay, a little bit about me. I run several companies. So I'll start with one of them being Blessing by Blair, which is a luxury weddings and events outfit where we design and produce luxury wedding parties, social events for our clients. We also run corporate events, international trade, and seminars, things like that. So on an international global level for national governments and for individual organizations as well. On the other hand, also I do own a cake company, which is a couture cake company called Blair Couture Cakes, where we design cakes, and our main motto is always creating an edible experience for our clients. So I suppose two ends here to this conversation is, one, I do run several businesses, and I have started up quite a few businesses. And also in the business of running events, there's a lot of projects and project skills that I use. And this is what we are bringing to the table to share with everyone in this conversation, I suppose. Thank you for that introduction. I'm going to go straight to the course itself. So Maureen, would you like to tell us about this course? What is it called? What is the structure?
Right, yeah, this course is called Launch Your Startup Business. And the structure of the course is that it's for 8 weeks. And the idea is that we'll have a live session, and then we'll have a self-directed online session. So it's going to kind of be alternated, but there's a week where you have 2 self-directed study areas. And the reason why I've designed it this way is really, most times you see people, courses advertised, and people go on courses, or you take courses where you go, you're taught everything you need to know, and then you go, and then you're meant to then implement it. But the idea of this is that we'll keep touching base with you. So 1 week we're covering certain topics, you go away, work on it, come back the next week, and then we can actually discuss what you've done, or if you've got issues or questions, you can bring those in, and then we'll cover the topics for that day. And the self-directed areas, those are really areas that you really need to work on your own. So it's a time for you to go off and really get all the information you need to then implement. But because you're working with a cohort, you also have other people you can be interacting with at that time. So one of the things we'll also do in the days you're self-directed is also set up a space for you to actually interact with each other if you need to. And then at the end, you also then come into our leaders community where you can still keep working together as a group and then also benefit from the wider community of other people who've been in business or who are in leadership.
Okay, thank you for that, Maureen. I'm gonna talk to you, Caroline, now. When it comes to starting up a business, people often just jump in and get going, especially with social media now being so accessible to everyone. We just think as long as we have a product or a service and we can text or type, we can put something on social media and off we go. Business started. There are loads of supposedly businesses up there on social media. What would you say is branding? That's the first question. Second question is, why brand your business?
Okay. That's a really interesting point. The first thing that I will be talking to the people on my part of the course, I'll be talking about is having a strategy and how important it is to actually think before you do. So I don't think with branding, we always start with, first of all, creating that strategy. It's asking a series of questions to be able to really articulate who you are, what you offer, and why anyone should care. Because if you don't know that, then you're not going to be able to get yourself out there, find the right clients that you want to promote yourself against, and make meaningful connections with people. So branding is a number of, it's not as simple as just a logo. A lot of people think to have a brand means I've just got a logo. A brand is something that's really thought about. So like I said, we start with strategy. We work out who we are, what we offer, why anyone should care. We work out our purpose, our reason for being, and the reason we get up in the morning. And then we look at how do we become an authentic brand that people are going to be able to communicate with and connect with. Once we've articulated that, we then move into how we communicate. What's our tone of voice? So that means that we need to think about who are we talking to? How should we talk to them? So you might be a company that's a bit quirky and a bit individual. So your tone of voice is going to be very different to a company that's going to be very business to business, speaking to financial advisors or financial directors and stuff like that. The way that you speak to someone like that compared to a more consumer facing business is going to be very different. So it's working out how to align yourself to your audience, coming up with a tone of voice, coming up with a name for your business, thinking about a name do I want a name that's going to say what it is that I do, like Sarah's Cake Shop, for example, versus Uber, which is a taxi service company. Uber doesn't mean anything related to the car services, but it's a very interesting name, and it's a one-worded name, so they've got a great website and everything. It means you can have uber.com and everything like that. There are just loads and loads of different things to it. So you've got your tone of voice, you've got your name, and then you start to look at, okay, how are we going to look? So this is the identity part of creating a brand. And that looks at everything from creating a logo, creating a color palette, creating all the different marketing touch points. Are you going to be an online brand, or are you going to be more, do you have a store? Looking at all the different ways that we're going to apply your identity to the different touch points that you're going to communicate with your different audience members. And all of that needs to align back to your tone of voice and to your strategy. So everything always is in alignment with each other. And once you've got your identity, which will comprise the logo, the color palette, the typeface, the different ways that we communicate it, we'll look at all the different marketing channels about where your brand needs to live. And once we've done that, then we create a go-to-market plan about how we're going to get the brand out there. And then once you've done, the last part of what I want to talk about during my part of the course will be how do you maintain engagement with your customers. And finally, the last bit is very importantly, getting paid for what you do as well. And how that whole journey, that brand journey, will go from trying to find your customer all the way through to getting paid at the end. So there's a lot of stuff with branding. It's definitely much more than a logo, I think. There's a lot to think about, and it all all starts with a strategy. So I think, like from your initially asked me, people shouldn't just go out and just start up a business. You've got to really think about it. And brand strategy and branding ties into your business strategy. The two of them should marry in some way.
I like that.
Thank you for that, Caroline.
Yeah, I really like that, because it's one of the things that I see so much. You know, people want to start a business and then they just jump in and then start a business without thinking about the branding and, you know, thinking about how they want to look, thinking about the message they want to give out. You know, it's just a case of, I've got an idea, I'll do it. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why I feel this course will be so beneficial to so many people, because instead of just jumping in, and then what you tend to see a lot of is people start and then suddenly they realize, oh, I need to brand. And then they then go back and start branding, not even rebranding, starting all over again. But you see, you can cut all that off by doing it right from the beginning. And I think in the process of thinking about all the things that Caroline has spoken about, it would actually help you structure your business and help give you clarity about where you're going as well.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. And that's, I think also one thing that people tend to do is they think about the branding suddenly and they're like, oh gosh, I've got to do something with my branding. Right, I'll get a designer over here to do a logo.
Absolutely.
I'll speak to this other person about doing something else. But
they all nodding.
They haven't thought about it, and it needs to. It has to start with a strategy, and because this is the most meaningful brands are the ones that are consistent, the ones that we believe in, and we sort of go back to time and time again. They're very consistent with their messaging and their deliverables, and that creates trust. When it's like how we are with people, I think when the reliable friends that we have, the reliable people that we know are the ones that are consistent in the way that they deliver the most successful business people are consistent like that. So it's the same thought process that needs to be thought about with your brand.
I believe truly that people buy people. You know, people won't book me for as their event planner or as their wedding planner because my website is pretty. No, it's when they have that consultation with me and they're confident in my voice, in what I say, they like me, therefore they book me. You know, believe it, people buy people. Same thing with wedding cakes, whatever it is you're offering, people buy people. So your brand must look like you in a way. Your brand must represent you. It must have your essence. So I am all for having like you're saying, having a designer somewhere design your logo doesn't mean that's your brand. It has to be you. It has to reflect your product or your service. So like you're saying, having a strategy on what it is you're offering, who you're offering it to, why you're offering it, will reflect strongly on what your branding is. Thank you for that, Caroline.
No problem.
Okay, next question I would like to ask Maureen. When it comes to business, you ready for this? There is a mindset that you must have if you're going to start up a business. You can't just use the same mindset you had as an employee as a business owner. It is not the same, because when you start up a business, don't forget, you don't have a HQ department somewhere. You are production manager, you are service delivery, you are HR, you are finance director, you are every department when you start up. So you need to have a specific mindset when it comes to starting up a business. Maureen, can you tell us a little bit more about the mindset?
Yeah, right. For me, this is really the foundation of a successful entrepreneur or business owner. And that's why I've put this into the first module, because without it, you struggle. And that's why a lot of times you find people starting off in business, and then a few months or a year later or so, they kind of go, I can't take it anymore. It's too much for me. Now, I think without going into too much detail, because we don't have time, the mindset itself, what is in our brain particularly is what determines the actions we carry out, the decisions we make, the behavior we have, the habits we have. And if you don't understand how to control your brain, when situations happen, which they will in business, because in business, things change constantly. If you are not prepared, it's so easy to get stressed, to get anxious, to get overwhelmed, but also to feel lonely. Because once you start, there's a whole bunch of emotions that will occur as things start happening. So it's so important to be able to understand, first and foremost, who am I? Why am I doing this? What do I need to know? Okay, what's actually happening? Because, and it's not a case that, what I would say is it will help you to really know what to do once those emotions kick in. Because when you start a business, fear is one of the biggest things that really grips people or stifles people or prevents people from moving. And it's a natural emotion. The reason why is because that's your brain at work that's your brain literally doing its work. And that is trying to protect you from what it does not understand. So it's really being able to have what I would call, so I don't want to even give it a term, but I call it the entrepreneur's mindset, because it's a mindset that will get you through the tough times. It's the mindset that will prevent you from, coming against an obstacle or challenge and running back or crumbling, basically. So, and this is what we're going to go into more detail in the training. And it's not a one module training. You're going to see it throughout the training, throughout the 8 weeks, and even after, because you're going to need it. Because at every stage of setting up a business and running a business, you need to have the right mindset to take you through each of these steps. Because even now that I'm in business, and I've been in business for a long time and done so much, there are times that I come against situations that I've got to stop my brain from taking off and say, no, this is what we're doing, brain. And if you don't have those tools, it will really be difficult to really to be successful as a business owner.
Thank you for that. I totally agree. I think sometimes we get carried away with whatever the project or product is, and we develop our skills in, say, for instance, I'm going to be a web designer. We develop our skills in web designing, or okay, I'm going to make cakes. You develop your skills in making cakes, but you forget that you're running a business. You need to develop your skills in business. Whether you like it or not, you have to be a master at marketing, master at sales, master at staff management, master at all of that, and everything around running a business alongside being a master of your trade. But most business owners, most entrepreneurs just get on with the skill that they need for that actual thing they're doing, and forget that they're running a business. And I think that's one of the main things that we're going to be looking at or in this program, is that when you're running a business, if it is a business and not a hobby, then you need to have a business mindset. It's very important.
And then sometimes it's, you may even, like, depending on what the business is, you may even let go of being the person who actually has the skill set, and be more about looking for other people who are going to do that skill for you. So you can start to bring a team together. And more of a, I guess, manage a team of people and cultivate that environment, I suppose. Which means letting go of the brain sometimes, but realizing that there are more, there's more benefit in having a really great team together than you trying to be that person
to
do everything. Exactly. And again, if you look back in Henry Ford, he had buttons on his dress to press for whatever he needed. He didn't need to know the information, but he knew people who knew the information. So, like you're saying, it's being open enough to let other people in who can then help you, because you can always outsource other aspects of your business if you don't want to do it yourself. But if you're not aware that that is part of the job, you're not going to do it, and you think you have to do everything yourself, So while you're busy designing and building your website yourself, you're not actually running your business. So keeping busy doesn't necessarily mean that you're being productive as a business owner. So these are things that we really need to highlight, I think, to startups, that they all look shiny on Facebook, it all looks lovely on Instagram, and everyone can write something or the other to put on LinkedIn, but what is happening underneath the water? You know, what exactly does it take to run a business? The next question I want to bring up is profiting. Now, for me, this is my own personal, I don't know what to call it, my own little bug thing is, people often run hobbies and portray them as businesses. Because if you're not profiting, I don't think you're a business. If you're set up as a charity, be a charity, a not-for-profit charity, if you're set up as a business, then you should profit. So you should have a strategy in place that states where your money is coming from. How are you going to keep your lights on? Because you could have given up a lucrative job in the city where you're earning top-notch money to start up something that you love to do. Just because you love doing it doesn't make it a business. That's more of passion. That's all. But if you cross the line and say, this is going to be a business, you have to have a profit strategy in place. How are you going to make money? What are your thoughts, ladies? I'll start with you, Caroline.
Yeah, no, I think that's like one of the things I want to touch on when I talk on the day is how important it is to see this hobby as no longer, it's not going to be a hobby anymore. It's going to be a business, and you may actually stop loving it in the way that you love it as a hobby. And you've got to think about that before you start, because you're going to put your whole life into it basically, and it's going to be, you're going to have a different relationship with this thing that you love to do currently versus turning it into a business. Yeah, and it's super important, and you've got to get good at valuing yourself and understanding the value, understanding how much you're worth or how much the product is worth, and that is very hard. Like I've done it in a number of different ways. I've like I said, I've got a fintech company which is much easier to price, but even then we still struggle sometimes, depending on which clients they are, how to price our software. But I also have another thing which I do as very much a hobby, and that's I teach yoga. And teaching yoga I find very difficult to ask people for money for, because it's more of a hobby. So but I have been doing a little bit of selling of that as well, but it's very, I guess those two different scenarios just show how it is difficult to turn something into a business. But you have to work it out. And so the thing, I guess what you need to do is do a lot of market research, look at your competitors, see how they're pricing themselves, and then apply that to yourself and go, okay, what is it that I'm worth, and how much should we be charging for this? And you need to have a bit of I would say at least a 5-year plan of how you want to start, what you want to make in the first year, what you want to make in the second year, and then third, fourth, fifth, for example. And then by the time you've done 5 years of your whatever this business is, you have another look at it and go, are we exactly where we want to be? Do we want to, is it successful? Is it generating the income that we wanted to generate? Do I have a team now who I'm able to pay? Where do I want to go from here? And then again, you go through the whole brand or business strategy all over again, and look at it again for another 5 years. Maybe it's something that's, you actually get to a point where you go, okay, I don't really want to take this much further. I want to turn it into something else, or you just don't know. But yeah, certainly the most important thing, I think, when you're thinking about turning something that you enjoy doing into a business, is making sure that you get paid for it, because it's not like you said, if I'm leaving a job in London where I know that I'm getting a certain amount, I need to be able to match that lifestyle that I have. So there are a lot of questions that you need to ask yourself about, how much do I need to make just to keep this business afloat? How much do I need to make to employ other people? And as you go on, you will you'll answer those questions and make yourself some KPIs or targets and work towards achieving those goals. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I think in your very first sentence, you use my buzzword, which is value.
Yeah.
How much do you value yourself? I think it for me, it was like, I don't know. I think that's the advantage of having a business coach, is someone who tells you, hello, what's your value, who reminds you of your value, because we often forget.
Yeah.
So once you lose sight of your value, I think you've lost sight of your business, to be honest.
Definitely.
So because we can plan in everything and look at the market. For instance, for me, as having a cake company, some people are selling cupcakes for 18p, and you're thinking, oh my God, you're selling for 18p. Do I compete with that? No, but if you had a strategy from the beginning to say, I'm not in this to be at the bottom of the chain. I'm not. My strategy was never a price comparison strategy. Therefore, it doesn't matter what anybody else is selling. This is what I'm worth. This is what mine is worth because of X, Y, Z. And then you stand on that. So when your competitors drop their prices, you don't have to. You stand where you are. You can choose to run at your own pace. So it's very important to value yourself. Decide what your value is. You have to decide. You have to pay yourself. Because if you don't pay yourself, you can't sustain. If you can't sustain, you can't sustain the business.
That's right.
And it's only a matter of time, and the lights will be off. So I think it's important that we must address this aspect of profiting. If you don't plan to profit, you are not going to.
You plan to fail.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Simple as that.
And you have to
Maureen,
be comfortable with it.
Around this.
Sorry?
Say that again, Caroline.
Oh no, I was saying it's you have to find a way to feel comfortable with talking about money. For some reason, it's a subject that people get a little bit like, oh, I don't want to talk about that part. But it's, if you're just comfortable up front and you're assertive in the way that you sell yourself, then already your audience are going to believe in you. I think. If you're a little bit like, oh, I'm not sure, they're just going to be like, well, I'm not sure if she's worth it. Do you know what I mean?
True.
Yeah. And that actually links back up into the business mindset.
Yeah.
Because it's the mindset that will really determine how comfortable you are with your value and your pricing. Because if you are not comfortable with it, people will pick it up. And in the training, we're going to be going through what I call neuroselling. So that's actually teaching people to sell. Neuroselling, that's teaching people to sell based on how the brain works. So you understand how people will perceive you or perceive what you're saying, and so that you use the right communicative terms to sell. Because one of the things a lot of people say is, I don't like selling. I'm not good at selling. But in one of the podcasts or so I did recently, I was saying that everybody sells. You know, even when you're trying to persuade your 2-year-old or nephew or colleague or friend to do something that they are not really keen on, that's selling. Because it's all it is persuasion. You know, being able to persuade someone to do something or see something the way you see it. So it's really been, you know, everybody has the ability to do it. But what Blessing said in terms of value, and I think Caroline, you said it as well, is the key. If you don't know your own value, then you will be in a price war with everyone else. When when people, you'll be looking everywhere to what people are pricing themselves. And the fact is that, you know, many people get into that trap. But the whole concept of the mindset is that once you recognize what you're doing, you know, and saying, oh, I'm being affected by this price, you're able to stop yourself and check yourself and do something about it. Either talk yourself out of it or get in touch with your coach or mentor or whoever to help you. And that is why with this training, the value is just immeasurable, because after the training, you've also still got us in the community to really help you, so that if you need that extra help, we're there to support you along the way. Because honestly, it will happen. You will get to a place where either you need to increase your prices, or when you're setting your prices, and it's being comfortable. And you know, I like what Caroline said, aggressive, but it's that comfort, aggressiveness, that no matter what happens, I'm not shaking. This is my value, this is my price, and this is what you're going to get. But the key is to make sure that you're giving value as well to people so that they know that they're getting good value from you.
Definitely.
I finished.
That's great. One main thing I always say to myself, I always remind myself is if someone wants a reduced price, I'd rather add value.
Yes.
So instead of reducing the price, I'll give you more. I'll give you more of whatever that thing is. I'll add something else. Because once you are open to reducing your price, where does it stop? You know,
exactly.
It's a slippery slope, and they think, oh, I got that from her. I can get a furthermore. I can get something else. I can get. But if they know that that's where you are, that's it. Take it or leave it. But okay, otherwise I'll throw in this for you as well. I'll give you the kitchen towel. I'll give you a couple of toilet rolls. I'll give you a couple of this. But my standard price is this.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot of respect and confidence in you and your service or product as well. Okay, thanks, ladies. This is going great. I think I just want to run through the structure of the program now. Maureen, you can lead on that, please.
Okay, yeah, I've mentioned this briefly at the beginning, so I'm going to go through it again. And if you go onto the website that has the information on the course, if you click on, there's a link there that will take you to the agenda for the whole program. And it starts off with the first week being a live session. So that's going to be, the first week basically is a live session. And then the second week is self-directed. And the third week is then a live virtual session. So there'll be a specific time where everyone comes online for the live sessions. And then it's going to last for about 3-4 hours, but 4 hours maximum. It could be less, it could be, it could be between anything from 2 to 4 hours, depending on the topic, depending on the structure of it. There'll be breaks in between, obviously, where people can then go into a chat room and just work together or have to work on their own. It just depends on what it is. The self-directed weeks, that is the weeks where we're not live, is where you go into the academy and you have a module accessible to you for that particular week. And you work on that module, so it's self-directed. So you do it at your own time, in your own pace, whenever you want to through that week. But every week, you're going to be given work to do. So you're going to leave every week with something to do. And that's why we've structured it this way, so that you're not kind of left on your own, given so much information, and then you go off and then then sometimes you get stuck, which is normal, but then you have nowhere to go. So this way, when you work on the work from week one, you can come back and say, actually, I struggled with this, I struggled with that. But even within the week, if you're having issues, you can actually post it into the forum on the leadership community, and we'll be able to also help you depending on what problem you're having. Or it could even be from someone in your cohort, because you'll be able to work together throughout. So as much as you're coming on your own, you're going to form great relationships, people that you'll be able to work with, people that will support you along the way. And then the final week is a live session as well, just so that we touch base again. And then after the training, there's going to be you can join the live monthly coaching session that I do. And sometimes I bring guests depending on what people want. So sometimes Caroline will join us, Blessing will join us as presenters or facilitators, depending on what it is people are asking. So there's so much for people to gain on this training. Like I said, the name is Launch Your Startup Business, but after the launch, you still have us to support you along the way as well.
Thank you, Maureen. So what would you say are maybe 1 or 2 benefits for attending this program?
It will give you some insight into what it is that I do from developing a brand strategy with people. It will ask some questions that you may not have asked yourself, and give you some insight, give you some things to think about, and a better understanding of how important it is to develop a really thought out brand to support your business, which I take for granted because I've done this for so many years. But I know that when I speak to people who haven't ever thought about their brand before, it just makes them go, oh gosh, I need to think about this, I need to think about that. And yeah, I think that mainly will be it. It's just having a better understanding of the importance of brand, the importance of purpose, and the importance of authenticity as well in how you deliver your brand and your business. Authenticity is something that I keep coming back to, but it's how you can be your authentic self across different online channels, like how to be your brand on Instagram versus how to be it on Twitter versus how to be it on LinkedIn. Just lots of different things that you need to consider that you may not have asked yourself before, just because it's not been something that you thought about. So I hope that's what I'll be able to share.
One other thing I would also say here is that through the training, there are people that will probably come in rather. There are people that might be listening to this and go, yes, I want to start a business, but I don't even have an idea, or I have too many ideas and I don't know which one to pick. This also, what we're going to be helping you with is actually sieving through all those ideas so that you can pick the right one for you.
Yes.
Because just starting a business for the sake of it is pointless. I've seen so many people ask that question, which one is the right one? So we're going to help you find out which one is the right one for you, and then find out the audience that is right for. Like Caroline said, in branding, you'll be able to really decide, who am I selling to? So in the second week in particular, we're now going to really look at the ideas that you have so that you can decide on the right one for you. And one of the things that we do in that week is really finding out what your value is. What is your personal value? What is your personal purpose? So that you can then figure out what the right business is for you at that time. And sometimes you might find that it's something you want to do, but you don't have the skill to do it. But that's okay, because you can develop that skill and we can direct you in the right direction of how to develop the particular skill that you need. But nothing is, anything is possible, basically. It's just how ready and prepared you are to put in the effort. So definitely look through the agenda, because it's packed full of different things. And we're going to come back and do more of these sessions, touching on different aspects of the training that we're going to be looking at in the, through the 8 weeks. But it's really packed full of so much to really help people get to grips and confidently set up their own business.
Yes.
I think one main benefit as well I want to highlight is having a business body. It makes a big difference. Having someone who is there, either they've done it before or they've learned from that error, so you don't have to jump in that puddle, yourself. So having a business body from the very beginning all the way through is what, I don't know, more than any money can say. So I think one of the main advantages I want to put across is the fact that you would have a business body, and there'll be other people as well in the cohort who are on the same journey as you are. So you don't feel so alone. You can easily ask those questions when they come up, either in the forums, or you can contact one of the presenters and have your questions asked. So you don't have to spend 3 weeks trying to figure it all out. Someone can give you the information you need at hand when you need it. So if for nothing else, the fact that you're not going to be starting this exciting but scary journey on your own is a great advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. It's having the body, but also having experts, because if three of us in particular have done this, we've got so much experience, but also we know people that we can bring in to also help with different areas. So because of our network, you've got not just the three of us, but even our networks to also help you, your journey through this whole, and as Leslie said, exciting, but also can be challenging journey ahead. but it's one to embrace, because once you do it and do it well, it's so fulfilling. You know, it's really fulfilling. But like in anything in life, you've got to put in the hard work, and you've got to realize that, you know, things change. Yes. And there are challenges, and it's really being in a position whereby you learn to embrace them as opposed to being afraid of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, ladies, I'm going to wrap this up now, unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, I think we've done. I think we've given so much for people to think about.
Definitely.
And we'll be back.
Yes,
we'll be back. Yeah.
We'll be back.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Maureen, as well, for your time this afternoon. And I'm looking forward to when we have another conversation on this topic. But for now, I'd like to say to everyone who's watching or listening, thank you for joining in. I hope this has been beneficial. Do remember that whatever ideas you come up with, they are from you. So those ideas don't own you, you own them. So you can do what you need to do to bring them to reality. So we're here to help. If there's anything we can do for you, do feel free to get in touch with us. But we look forward to being with you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Blessing. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Okay.
Thank you.